Good, good, good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be just you and me today.
Okay.
Mariette can't make it. So, yeah, we're going to have a good old chat. I am recording, remember, for Michelle and then also for Mariette as well, so they can also partake in the
Yeah.
later. So tell me, how have you been? How are you doing at the moment?
Well, I'm still determined to stick it out.
Wonderful.
And even if it means a longer period than, yeah, because
Sure.
we want it to work.
Yes.
Looking at last week, we ended off going to look at, in my case, the fat. It was slightly lower than could have been, so that the 2 weeks would have a value. The other one was I was asking those things about drinks and all that.
Yes.
Where I get that. I mean, there are some RMR drinks that are there or something like that, just to break the monotony of water and tea, coffee.
Did you find something that works for you?
No, I haven't even know how to access it to see where those are. I can find them. I know it's nothing much. It's more like putting something in your water or something like that. But I just
to flavor the water.
To flavor the water, yeah.
Okay.
With something that is not going to take me back.
Yeah.
And the third part was to focus on the sugar.
Yes, correct.
I did measure for 7 days this time.
Good. And what was your results?
We moved 6.7 day 1, 6.8, 6.9, and 7.3, which is an outlier, which makes me wonder what happened on that day. Then 6.4, and then for the last 2 days, 5.8, 5.7.
Wow, that's really, really good.
At the end, it kind of looks like, although the medication is still at that level, same level, so it could be both the effectiveness of the diet and the medication. One was hoping it was 5.7 with no medication.
Yes, of course. But I'm very curious, on which day did you find that the over 7 sugar?
That's 7.3. Yeah, it's on the 19th.
On the 19th?
Yeah, 19th September.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what happened. What was the odd thing that day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. Because I'm looking at what you ate on the 18th, and specifically for dinner.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look here. Yeah, and your amount of carbohydrates, that specific dinner was really, really low. So that's very interesting to try and figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And it could be a host of things, How did you sleep that evening? Can you remember?
No. But generally, I never have a problem sleeping.
Yeah. Okay.
So that one is, to me, I looked at it as perhaps just an odd one out. Yes. Because all the others, the others before that were high 6s, but obviously we want we would rather have high fives rather than high sixes, which
Yes.
seems to be the case in the last 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's most
But,
certainly very encouraging.
but when you look at it in the context of the other measurements,
Mm-hmm.
it's now 4 weeks of measuring.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I was, last week,
Mm-hmm.
I was a 101 hip,
Yeah.
which is now 99.
Excellent.
So,
Yes.
so that one shows progress.
Mm-hmm.
Waist remained the same at 112.
Okay. All right.
And then glucose dropped, yeah, 6.6 to 5.7. And
Yes.
then the actual weight just 0.1 down, 88.5 to 88.4.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so
Let's see.
yeah.
So
I'm just encouraged by the downward trend. Otherwise, it's small drops.
I hear you, and you started the program on your weight at 90, and you are
Yes.
at 88.4 now.
Yes. I started at 90.9. Actually, it was a high 90.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, almost 91.
Yeah. All right, so it's 2.5.
Which might mean average of what per week, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 0.5 kilogram per week, roughly.
Yeah.
Which
roughly.
is which is encouraging for me.
Also for a diabetic, I mean, you'll take the small drops.
Yes. Remember, Toby, you are very insulin resistant, and that part of your diabetes. So it takes longer for your body to get into fat burning mode. And I'm seeing this trend now. That's what I see. The pattern that I'm seeing is that your body is slowly but surely starting to adapt and to getting to fat adaptation. And when you said to me now that your fat was a little bit low for this phase that we are in, I'm actually quite happy with where your fat content is, because if I look at the nutrition report, you are about at 90% of your target, which is in range. It's enough for your body to properly kick into gear for fat adaptation. So I'm very comfortable with where you are at the end of the fat adaptation phase.
You know where I was obviously concerned. I was concerned because I'm assuming now we were giving the body more fat.
Correct.
And then by that, we were inciting it to get used to fat burning. And then I assume from today, we withdraw the fat.
Correct.
To me, that phase now is very important if the body starts burning, burning fat. So I'm very keen on this phase, because that to me will mean things are all going to drop. And I know that once I hit that one, obviously I'm worried if it does not take, as they use the word they use. I'll hope now the body has taken into fat burning.
Yes.
Going forward.
I'm hopeful, and I'm also confident that you will, because if I look at your progress through carb weaning and then to fat adaptation, your carbohydrate intake has remained very low, which is good for us, which is a good sign. And I think that you're properly fat adapted, because what happened is, or what happens when you are really low carbohydrates and your insulin levels are really low, it means that fat is circulating in your blood continuously, which is a good thing. It is healthy for us to have the energy available to us, and that's also why you would find some people would find that their weight the loss of their weight slows down a bit in this phase because we have energy available, right? So
Yeah.
we prepared in the last 4 weeks, we've prepared our body for the next phase, which you are saying is that this burn is going to come now when we're actually less than the amount of fat that we're going to take in.
Yeah.
So, I think you've completed this phase very well. If I look at the days, your individual days, what you've recorded, I see that you've added some olive oil just to boost your fat intake, which means that you've been putting on more fat than you would have otherwise, which is exactly what we want.
Which is what we want, yeah.
Exactly. So don't worry about your levels of fat that you took in. It is pretty much on target where we wanted it. So I'm very happy. I think you did really, really well. So
this one, the next one is going to be the exciting phase, I can see.
Yes, exactly. It is. And this is such an important session that we're having today. Regarding, and I'm going to explain the concept of what we are going to do. So just regarding your comments, I also just want to comment on what you've said. Regarding the fat adaptation and the burn and so forth, and being excited about it. We most certainly will get into the nitty-gritty of what that is all about. So just want to say to you that your nutrition report is looking really good. The figures I'm looking at, very low carbohydrates. Your fats is exactly where we want it. It's at a good level. And that I'm really happy with where you are thus far. And we will see now that your fat burning is going to start, your own fat burning is going to start increasing. No doubt about that. I just wanted to ask you, Toby, you are still eating breakfast, I see?
Yes.
So what we want to do as part of, in our presentation, I'm going to talk about the fasting part. But if I say to you that the first question is, at what time in the morning do you eat your breakfast?
About 8.
8 in the morning. Okay. All right. That's great. So I'm going to do my presentation just now. But before I do that, I just want to talk through the process of fasting. And remember, we spoke about hunger in week 3, 3 weeks ago, and that we should eat when hungry. So what I want you to do, if you think back now on eating breakfasts, do you eat breakfast because you are hungry, or do you eat breakfast because that's your normal pattern of having meals, having 3 meals per day?
No, remember, I'm eating it because of what Deepak Chopra says we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
You can't, each time you meet a car station, you want to fill up.
Yeah.
Deepak says we shouldn't do that. So I don't think I'm actually hungry. If the question is, can it be much later? Yes. At some stage, it used to be 11.
Okay. All right.
Which compresses the number of times you eat, especially if dinner you are having it as early as 6 or 7.
Correct. So what we want to do, Toby, is to make an experiment. And the experiment is waiting until you get hungry. And only stop at the garage when you need your fuel. And then to see what time that is. And then when you break your fast, to eat enough until you are not hungry anymore. And then to wait again and to see when you get hungry again. So, and normally, because now you are, your gut health has vastly improved because we've been having bone broth, we've been doing sauerkraut, not had any processed carbohydrates, your gut health is better. That means we are taking on more nutrients out of our food into our body. That's point number 1, which is very good. So that helps your hunger go less. And
where do we get sauerkraut?
Sauerkraut.
Do we just make it our own, or is there Is there a place?
Yeah, yeah.
Just-
You can buy sauerkraut, but one would be very careful about buying
Yeah.
sauerkraut because most of the commercially available sauerkraut has been sterilized, which means that all the microbes have been killed. So that's why we make sauerkraut. So what
Okay.
did you not get the sauerkraut recipe on our e-learning platform?
I probably would check. Yeah.
Okay, will you just check on week 1? On
Week
our
one.
yeah, the sauerkraut recipe is there available as a download.
Okay. Yeah.
Together with the bone broth. But the fact that you stopped eating processed carbohydrates is going to already make your gut health better. So, so your hunger is going to decrease because of that. And then secondly, because you are now fat adapted, your body easily taps into your energy from your own fat reserves. So you're not going to be that hungry. So we need to test how your body responds now to being fat adapted.
Yes.
And also then to check, because your hunger rhythms is going to change. So we want to get your insulin levels nice and low. And for us to do that, we want to wait until you are hungry before you eat.
Yeah.
And most people that do that, and when I say most people, 9 out of 10 people actually find out that they end up eating only 2 meals and not 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll actually find that by 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock, sometimes, some days even later, that you break your fast, and then you'll probably have dinner again, and that's your 2 meals. That's where that'll probably work for you and work for you well. But I don't want you to go hungry. So don't try and go hungry and then wait too long. If we are hungry, we eat. That's very important. But we're going to try and get to a point where we actually do 2 meals. Okay, but you'll have to experiment at what works.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And we want to do 2 meals without snacking in between. So that means that when we break our fast, let's say 11 o'clock in the morning, that we eat enough that we know we're going to last until, let's say, 6 o'clock for dinner.
Yeah.
But you'll find that if you eat nutrient-dense foods like you are eating, you'll very easily be able to last till 6 o'clock before you eat again. And then that really helps us to get our insulin levels nice and our blood glucose very low. And that means we can then burn our fat very, very well.
Nutrient-dense food are obviously the food from the green list.
Yes, that's exactly it. Green list is nutrient-dense foods. It's the foods that gives us the highest amount of nutrients for the lowest amount of energy or calories then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good. So having looked at all of your figures, I'm very happy that we can go ahead. You've done really well, carb weaning and fat adaptation. So well done there. Really, really good. I'm very happy with where you are. And then what I want to do now is, if you don't have any other questions or comments.
The question that my wife's just reminding to ask, when we say no snacks between women, no coffee.
Oh no, coffee is fine. Anything without any energy in it. So coffee, tea, black coffee, black tea is 100% fine. No problem. Okay.
No, that's the question. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So, but then, what if you feel that you need to snack because you're hungry? Let's say it becomes 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, and you feel hungry, you don't feel good, you feel you need to eat something, then rather snack. Don't go hungry. Yeah? Only snack enough to make sure that you can make it till 6 o'clock, not more than that. Yeah.
But what about then something like bone broth?
Perfect.
Does it become a meal, or
it's not a meal, it's a nice filler. It's the perfect thing to have. If you get say, 4 o'clock and you think, you feel like something, have a bit of bone broth. It's going to sort out your appetite or your hunger. And it's very healthy, and it's not going to, it's probably the best thing to have. Very good.
Okay. because it does feel nicely.
Yeah.
Once I've had it, I go on. I go on
Yeah.
for quite a time. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll see now, bone broth is also a very good thing to have early in the morning.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help you stretch the morning.
Yeah.
You'll be able to break your fast even later without
Yes.
influencing
Okay.
your blood glucose or your insulin. So which is really nice, which is what we want.
Yeah.
And that's why we recommend people get into the habit of having their bone broth in the morning. Just half a cup of bone broth in the morning. And then maybe a cup of coffee later, or even with your cup of coffee, have a bit of bone broth, and you know that you will do well, and you'll actually
Yeah.
break your. Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Mm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me quickly share my screen with you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the burn and week 6. I'm always very excited about week 6 because we've been working hard to get to this point.
The burn. Oh.
The burn. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome to week 6 of the program. From week 6, we start with the next phase of our program called the burn. The previous 2 weeks was fat adaptation, and we increased our fat consumption to show our bodies that we need to start burning fat as a fuel. Now that we are fat adapted, we want to increase our capacity to burn our fat. First, we decrease the amount of fat that we consume. And second, we start looking at an intermittent fasting strategy that will work for us and will not leave us hungry. The burn is about burning our own fat stores as efficiently as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Now, this graph, the burn is about maximizing the effects of our own fat adaptation process. Now that you are fat adapted, we will be focusing your body's attention on your own fat stores. Central to the efficacy of our 16 Hours for Life program is the concept of the PE ratio. So P and E refers to protein and energy. Energy in this equation is the combined energy contained both in carbs and fat. So protein contains the majority of our nutrients. We want to establish a habit of eating high nutrient density foods, thereby minimizing hunger. We allow our body to tap into its own source of energy by minimizing external sources of carbs and fats. So the effect is a positive PE ratio. In other words, we're eating more protein than energy. And remember, energy is a combination of carbohydrates and fats. So that means you are, So if you look at, and let me quickly just get my pointer out. If you look at this graph, on the bottom section of the graph, it's the red section here, and it says fat gain.
Yeah.
So these food items here are pure energy. They've got no proteins and therefore very low nutrient density. And these are foods, these are healthy foods and unhealthy foods, like for instance, olive oil. Olive oil is healthy, but it's only fat. So and sugar, plain sugar, for instance, is unhealthy. We know that, but it's pure energy. There's no nutrition in it. There are no proteins there. So at the bottom end of this scale is where we gain fat and we become metabolically sick. So we don't want to only eat these foods. If we move up in the scale, and this is weight maintenance, this is where we eat fatty foods, not a lot of carbohydrates. And you can see stuff like cheese, ribeye here, for instance, which is steak with a lot of marbling, a lot of fat in it, or bacon, or processed meats like certain sausages and that type of stuff with a lot of, sorry, let me just get rid of that, with a lot of fat in it. So, and when we talk about maintenance, this is also weight loss or not losing weight. If one eats a lot of fat continuously, you won't lose weight. Why? Because your body has access to too much energy, and it won't use its own energy stores. So where we then go on a high PE ratio or positive PE ratio of foods up in here, which is our green list foods. And those typically are foods that are lower in fat and high in protein. And you can see right at the top here, seafood, low in fat, high in protein, very, very healthy for us to eat, specifically if we want to lose weight, control blood sugar, and get our blood glucose levels down. And also green vegetables, very good. So what we want to do is, during the burn phase, is we want to eat as lean as possible meats, but we don't want to eat lean meats like chicken breast, for instance, steamed, because that tastes like cardboard. We want at least a little bit of fat to go with our meal, because the taste of the food is in the fat. So what we are saying is, don't eat so lean that the food isn't enjoyable. The food must be enjoyable, but only eat as much fat as is necessary to make the food enjoyable, not more fat than what is necessary, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the PE ratio, please remember this graph is about picking up weight and also being metabolically unhealthy, is eating food with a lot of energy and not a lot of nutrients. If you want to maintain your health or maintain your weight, doesn't matter where you are, if you're overweight or whatever, you will actually maintain your weight if you eat high energy, high nutrient dense foods. And if you want to lose weight, we eat low energy, high nutrient dense foods, which is our green list up here. Okay. All right. So let me quickly continue with the slide. So we eat leaner proteins and eat just enough fat to make the food taste good. Rely on seafood and concentrated protein like dried or pure meats. For South Africa, we are lucky. We like eating biltong, which is great. Boost your lean protein intake, and then target proteins as your main source of food. So when you look at your plate really should consist of your chosen meat or animal protein, and then you should have your vegetable matter. So always finish on your plate your meats, and if you can't finish your whole plate of food, rather leave over the vegetables or the salads, but always finish and eat your protein. If that makes sense. Okay, very important, because when you finish and eat all your protein, you're not going to get hungry soon again. And we want to manage our hunger. We don't want to be hungry. Okay, so protein, always your first choice. All right.
Yeah.
So let's quickly talk about how on Cronometer you can actually work out the PE ratio. So I just want to show you quickly, if you look at Cronometer, let me get my laser pointer again. If you look at, and you'd recall that your target is the amount or the grams of protein, carbs, and fats that's to the right of the / It's like this 101 or 25 or 56, for instance, in this example. Yeah. Now, if you add, so these are your targets. If you add the 56 grams of fat to the 25 grams of carbs, that gives you 81 grams of energy. Remember, we said carbs and fat together is energy in the PE ratio. So you've got 81 grams of energy, and your protein is 101. So 101 protein is more than 81 grams, which means that we've got a positive PE ratio, more protein than energy. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So, and you will see that your targets on your profile is already set up to have that positive PE ratio. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do is if we want to get our body into a healthier state, we want to make this PE ratio as high as we can. So how do we do that? We keep our carbs as low as possible and our fat as low as possible, and we eat lean protein as much as we can. So the higher our protein number becomes, and the lower our energy number becomes, the quicker we are going to lose weight, the quicker we are going to be burning our own fats, which means that the faster you will actually see your blood glucose drop and go down. Okay, so more protein, less fat and carbs.
Yeah.
All right, because your body is then going to be fueling itself with more and more and more fat and very few carbs. Okay, that will help you control your blood glucose very well. Okay.
Is the suggestion that where the protein got too much fat, is that why perhaps we are told not to go for the rib eyes of this word?
Yes, that is why. So, but also the best advice is to, and I'll talk about that just now, is to actually mix up what we are eating, to have maybe 2 days of seafood. Let's say your main meal is dinner. So your 2 main meals of the week would be seafood, 2 main meals of the week would be chicken, and then 2 main meals of the week will be any other type of protein. It could be red meat, it could be pork, it could be anything else. Just to play around with that. But we suggest that you have about 4 meals, which is white meat, and we say white meat, chicken, seafood. Doesn't have to be fish, it could be any seafood. If you like prawns and that type of thing, brilliant. Very, very good. Okay. And you can mix it up a bit. But that most certainly makes a big difference to your PE ratio, because it's high protein, very low fats in seafood. You'll very, very quickly see and feel and experience the difference as your body kicks into gear and it starts burning its own fats.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so have you got any questions from Corby around the PE ratio and the concept of the PE ratio? Does it make sense?
Seems like would benefit from a quick run down again.
Okay, all right. So let's go quickly and let's do the calculation again quickly on this screen. Would that help?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's close this. So if you have a look here, we don't look at this yellow line calories. Remember, what we do is protein, and what I want you to do is to look at the protein total and your protein total for that matter. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to go to your actual numbers, and let's just quickly see what that looks like. So let me share that quickly with you. Okay, so if you see here, these are your numbers. That's your average for the last 7 days.
7 days. Yeah.
And this is what you've achieved. Okay, so if I look at your numbers, which is on the left-hand side of the targets, I'll take 53 fat, and I'll add 15 carbs to that. So that gives me what, 68, roughly 68.
Yeah.
Let's call it 69 with the decimals in. And you've got protein at 70. So your P ratio is about 1 to 1. You've got 70 protein and you've got 69 energy, which is the carbs and fats together. So that shows me for this week that you wouldn't have lost too much weight, which we saw.
Yeah, which is true.
So what's going to happen now? But remember, we are on fat adaptation. We were on fat
Yeah.
adaptation for a week, and you added energy into your diet.
Yeah.
That's what we expected. So what's going to happen now next week is the fat amount is going to come down.
Come down. Yeah.
Because you're not going to add the oil and stuff to your meals anymore. And you're going to eat a little bit more lean meats. So your fat content is going to come down. You want the fat content to be about that 60% of your target. Okay, roughly there. If you get it to about 60%, you're doing very well.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is you want to increase your protein amount to as high as you can, your lean protein. Yeah. So if you can do that, and if I look at where your protein comes from now, stuff like chicken liver, your hake, chicken breast, and so forth, it's all great stuff. High protein, lower energy, good for the protein or the PE ratio. Yeah. So the moment you actually, and some people don't really understand that you can actually eat more to get healthier. And when I say healthier, I mean lose weight, control blood glucose, all that stuff.
But by eating more.
by eating more, but eat more nutrient dense foods. Yeah. Less energy into your body. It forces your body to work with those foods, and it makes you metabolically fit to be able to metabolize the good nutrients and the healthy nutrients in your food. So it's a very good process to go through. So I would say focus more on what you are, the stuff that you are eating that is high nutrients, low energy density, that you already enjoy, like chicken livers, hake, chicken breast, and so forth. Absolutely cool. And then just try and see if you can bring your fat content down a little to about 60% of your target there. Okay.
The fat content.
Yeah, that's right. So you'll see that the way that you have been eating without your olive oil or adding your olive oil, on the screen I can see olive oil is about 18 grams or 19 grams on average per day that you took on board. So if I deduct that amount, I already get to 35 grams of fat per day, which puts you exactly where you want to be. So my suggestion is keep on eating exactly the way you've been eating, the same type of foods. Yeah. When you take away the olive oil, you're fine.
Yeah.
What about
the
cheeses and others?
She's asking, should we not take off the avos and chicken cream cheese?
I don't think so. I think what you do is just monitor, and if you see on a daily basis that the cream cheese, so you can see here the cream cheese, for instance, was only 2 grams per day that you added to your fat total, which is not much. Okay.
Yeah.
The olive oil, scrambled egg with salt, bacon adds fat, but not too much.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, whatever you're doing right now, keep doing it for this coming week, and just take away the olive oil. If you do that, you should be fine.
How do I read what's on the left on the screen? The consume, bend, and budget. How do I interpret that? And I'm also wanting to know what you've got on the right. How do I get to that screen on the right?
Those figures there.
No, just the screen on the chronometer.
If you look at your application, have you got your mobile application open?
No.
Okay. If you look at your mobile application, is your phone close to you, or can you access it now?
Yes, I'm already opening now.
Okay. So once you've got the application open,
I've got now, to the where those 3 things are on top.
Just quickly, I want to show you where these to look at the figures I'm looking at on the right. So if you go on your mobile device and you go to the bottom right, that menu, to the bottom right of plus, you'll
Yeah.
see this, it says trends. You can just
Yes.
tap on trends,
I've
and
done
then,
that.
yeah,
I see a graph. Yeah.
yes, that's right. Now, top right of that graph, it says report or nutrition report. Can you see that? It's faded. It's not highlighted. It was just
Yes. Yes. It says nutrition report. Yeah.
yes. Tap on nutrition report.
Yeah.
And then if you scroll down 3 or 4 graphs later, you'll see
Now I
it.
see. Now I see. Yeah.
You see. So that's the
see.
figures I'm looking at, because that gives you a weekly average.
Okay. Okay. So there is saying 71% energy. Okay, something like that. Protein, 59. Or the macros are on the right and the personal are on the left.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So your targets. So right from the start of this program, I've already programmed your targets to have a positive PE ratio. But what we did was the first 2 weeks, we did carb weaning. So we first got the carbs under control. The second 2 weeks, the end of these 2 weeks, we spoke about fat. And now we're going to talk about, and we're talking about protein and getting the protein, the PE rate right. Okay. So, and that's where you can go and have a look to see on average how it's working for you. Because some days we'll eat a lot more fat and some other days we'll eat less fat or more proteins. We want to see on average how we are doing. And that's where our body responds. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and from this consumed, burned, and budget, I really don't want you to be concerned about that, because we don't count calories. This is all calories, and we're not counting calories.
That's calories. Okay, so
yes.
It's like the yellow line. We don't really,
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Only thing I want you to do is to focus on when you are hungry, and when you are hungry, we eat. We don't go hungry. Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So let me go back to our presentation.
Yeah.
All right. So happy with a PE ratio. If you are at all have any questions, please, Toby, just send something on WhatsApp and we can quickly go through it again. Okay, no problem.
I see the positive PE ratio already. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, excellent. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about. Intermittent fasting. So you might be wondering why we utilize intermittent fasting as a strategy for improving our health. On this slide, you can see the very many benefits of intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is a potent lever to accelerate our progress to a healthier metabolic state, a healthier body, in other words. Intermittent fasting is also an easy strategy to implement once you are fat adapted, as your appetite is more under control. How do we implement a successful intermittent fasting routine? By now, you are adequately burning fat as a fuel, and that means that you are less hungry than you were 4 or 5 weeks ago. Have you noticed that when you get up in the morning that you might not be very hungry? As a matter of fact, you might actually not be hungry at all. If you have not noticed that you are not hungry in the morning, check it out when you wake up tomorrow. Chances are you are probably not hungry yet when you wake up. What normally works is to have a cup of coffee or tea or a hot beverage, or even we talked about the bone broth that does not contain any calories to replace your normal breakfast if you've eaten breakfast fast. So then wait until you are hungry before you eat. Most people experience getting hungry at around 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning, at which time they can break their fast with a healthy meal option. So if you have eaten your last meal at say 6 or 7 in the evening the day before, you would have fasted roughly 16 hours. It's as simple as that. So from 6 to 7 p.m. the previous evening to 10 or 11 a.m. the following morning, this is the easiest way to introduce a sustainable fasting regimen in your life. You might recall that we eat less carbohydrates so that we can better control our insulin levels. I
like that, obviously, in my case.
Yes, absolutely. It's perfect. Perfect for you. We want to control our insulin and drive our insulin secretion down so we can have better access to our own fat stores. Another wonderful tool to control our insulin levels with is intermittent fasting. Whilst in a fasted state, that is fasted for more than 12 hours, our insulin levels are very low and we tend to burn fat very easily. This helps us toward our goal and accelerates our progress. Intermittent fasting does not just help us with fat burning, it also helps slow the aging process. The aging process is slowed down by an increase in our metabolism, which also leads to our bodies replacing old and dysfunctional cells much sooner. It means our body renews itself on a regular basis and helps us to be more healthy. So intermittent fasting is a fantastic way to keep us very healthy. All right, so let's look at our goals quickly for the burn. Very, very important. Target protein and cut down on fats. With other words, our PE ratio. We spoke about that. Second goal is to start intermittent fasting. And a very important point here, Toby, is please don't ever go hungry when you are intermittent fasting. Just allow the hunger to come by itself. And if you feel like eating or think you must be eating, ask yourself the question. Remember, we spoke about it in week 3. Am I really hungry? And if you are not really hungry, then postpone eating until you are hungry. And I can see your wonderful wife is really giving you a lot of support. So this is my request to her, is to say, if you are ready to eat or a meal has been prepared and you are not yet hungry, then to wait until you are hungry to eat.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
All right.
So she will ask me, can I prepare something now instead of automatically preparing?
Sure. And I think if you can have that conversation, and you'll very quickly start seeing where your rhythm comes. For me, for instance, I know I eat between 11 and 12 o'clock, my first meal, and then I eat again at about 6, 6:30. I eat my second meal, and that's it. And you'll very quickly find your rhythm. Within 2, 3, 4 days, you'll see, oh, okay, those are the times that I eat. And then the nice thing, of course, is you are only preparing 2 meals instead of 3. It's much less. So, which works for everybody very well. So let's see how the intermittent fasting goes. I will probably tomorrow just check in quickly to see with everybody, how did the first day of intermittent fasting go? What time did your break fast? And let's see how that goes. Okay. Intermittent fasting, very important. And by the way, intermittent fasting, the moment that you start intermittently fasting, you must never stop doing that. For the rest of your life, you must keep on intermittently fasting, because it is the healthiest thing beside eating the right foods that you can do to keep and maintain a healthy body. Very important. And you'll see it's a natural thing. You actually don't ever will consider eating breakfast again, other than being invited for breakfast and you feel that you must have it. But you'll see it's going to come. All right. So our third goal, as always, planning. Prepare your shopping list. And second goal is make sure that we've got a nice clean pantry, and avoid red and gray lists completely. Items on the red and gray list. And let me go quickly. And then good luck for the week that is ahead. So we've been preparing your body for this phase of the program for the last 5 weeks. Now it's time to burn more of your own fat. It is very important that you stick to eating mostly green list foods and occasionally have orange list foods on your plate, and cut back on the fats. Remember to tracking your foods to make sure that you stay within the parameters set for you on your macronutrients. And good luck.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a question that my wife is checking about mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. Okay.
talking about the vegan mayonnaise, or is there any mayonnaise that works?
I will put a mayonnaise recipe for you on the WhatsApp group. It's a mayonnaise recipe that I really like, and it is actually made from yogurt, from plain yogurt. It tastes very much like mayonnaise, not exactly the same, but you'll get used to the taste, I'm sure, very quickly, because mayonnaise is full of sugar, and also it's made from sunflower oil, cooking oil, which is on our red list, which we don't want to eat. That causes a lot of inflammation in our body. So we don't want to use mayonnaise. So thank you for that question. Very important question.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. So
Lovely.
if there's anything, Mtobi, as always, on the WhatsApp group, and and good luck with the burn. We're going to start with a very exciting phase, and I'm very keen to hear the burn. I'm very keen to hear how it goes tomorrow morning with the intermittent fast. So wait until you are hungry before you break your fast.
So I must remember Deepak Chopra. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't fill up the tank before it's empty.
Exactly. Perfect.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. You must have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.